Hi, everyone. Welcome to our week 2 signature assignment. This assignment is about cost effectiveness analysis. This is an economic tool used to determine which project to select for a range of businesses. It is often used in healthcare. If you have not heard of this technique before, you may consider going to number 3 on our resources list and completing the training. The training will not only go over CEA, but it'll go over CBA and CUA, which are the week 3 and week 4 assignments. It will take about an hour to complete, so it does take a little while, but if you have a moment, you can complete this. Note there are no points for completing this, so if you choose not to, that's perfectly acceptable as well. What's nice about these techniques is they kind of tell you what they do in their name. So cost effectiveness is going to look at the cost of a number of interventions for a particular area, as well as their effectiveness, and then determine which project to select from there. In this assignment, we're going to first look over our scenario. The scenario is the same for all weeks in the class. We are going to work at Seahawk Medical Center, and we are going to take on a number of challenges. The challenges are explained in this scenario. I'm not going to explain it all to you, so that way you can go through it, and I'm not restating what you're going to read. But one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to work on increasing hand washing. Currently, our staff is not washing their hands as they're supposed to. And so we are going to first get a metric of how they're washing their hands. Then we are going to institute a project to help them to increase their hand washing. And then we are going to look and see if they're hand washing more often after we institute that project. Most of the time, there's usually an initial, hey, let's see where we're at. And that's what we're going to do first. So first, you're going to click on hand washing observations initial. We're going to download this file, and it is going to open without a password. We're going to select Enable Editing, and then we're going to go down to the bottom and see that we have a table to fill out. The data is found in all of these columns. I'm going to go through each of the columns with you. The first one is the staff member observed. You're going to notice we have 50 staff members observed. Next is the date, then the day, then the shift. These are not going to be quite as important as once we get started here in column E. We're going to look and see if they observed when they enter a patient room and when they exit a patient room. No means they didn't wash. Yes means they washed. In columns G and H, we are looking at binary data. Binary data tells us yes or no. No is quantified as 0. Yes is 1. This is used a lot in statistics, but you may or may not have just encountered it previously. So we are going to first wash if they to see if they wash both times when they enter and when they exit the patient room, or did they wash once? These are our hospital units. We are going to need to know how they washed based on their unit. So first we're going to highlight the data and then click Data and then Sort. And we're going to sort by hospital unit. And then OK. Once we've sorted, we will notice CCU at the very top. I like to click the Home tab and highlight that data so that way I know what I'm working with and I don't get confused. You'll note there are 5 staff being observed. So for staff observed, we'll select 5. Total observations will be double that. So 10. Every single time we observe when they enter, when they exit. So anytime we have a number of staff, total observations will always be double that. The count of yes upon entering. We're going to look in column E. There are 3 who washed when they entered. So we're going to enter 3 here. Count upon exiting. we are going to also notice there are 3 yeses, so 3 on exit. Hand wash both enter and exit, that is column G. We're going to count the number ones. We have 2 number ones, so we'll enter that here. Hand wash at least once enter or exit. That is column H. We have 4 ones, so we are going to put 4 here. No hand wash enter or exit will be those who did not wash at all. That will be the number of zeros in column H. So we have 1 0. Another way to calculate this column would be to take the number of staff minus those who washed once. So 5 minus 4 equals 1. I'm going to do one more with you, and then I will leave you to complete the rest. The next is ED. So I'm going to highlight it in a different color. Once again, you don't have to highlight. If you go through the ED, you'll notice there are 9 staff observed in the ED. Since we double the observations since they washed when they enter or exit, we will have 18 observations. So the count of yes on entering is column E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. So 5 yes when they enter. How many when they exit? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 when they exit. Hand wash both enter and exit. We have count the ones, which is 2 ones in column G. So 2 enter and exit. And then hand wash at least once. We're going to count the ones here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 washed at least once. No hand washing. How many zeros? There's 2 zeros. So we have 2 zeros here. Once we've finished doing each of the different units, I'm going to highlight these so that way you know you will need to go ahead and calculate all of these. Once we get to the bottom, we can do totals. So the totals are going to be this whole table. You can do that by clicking on Home, Auto Sum, and it will highlight the area for you. So it is going to give you 14, and you can copy and paste that over. Control C, Control V is what I did. If you want to do that differently, you could do equals sum, parentheses, and then highlight the cells. The formula is the same, and you can use either. Obviously, these are not the totals since we are missing those other rows. Once you finished here, we can find the compliance rate. So let's first find the percentage of staff who washed both in and out. If we were to have only 4 who washed in and out and 50 total people, we would take equals 4 divided by 50, and it gives us a total of 8% who washed their hands both times. We can also do this with hand washed at least once, which is our second percentage. Equals 11 divided by 50, and we get 22%. Our final percentage is found here, total hand wash. Remember, we have 100 total observations, 50 people who were observed twice each. Our total hand washing observations would be to take the totals here. I'm going to give them a very unique color, maybe this light green. We're going to add the yes here and the yes here because this is what the formula says. It says total count of yes upon enter and total on exit. And we are going to add equals this cell plus this cell, and then we will have our total. And to find the overall compliance, we will take the total hand wash divided by the total observations, and that will be our final. When you're entering in your password to get into the next cell, you will enter the yellow password first, then the orange, and then the green. So it will be a 6-digit code. After we have found this, we can go into our next spreadsheet. Our next spreadsheet is an email. We are going to download that here. This email explains what the next steps are. So at this point, they know that we have observed hand washing. We have noticed that we are low on hand washing. Our compliance is not where it's supposed to be. They are directing us to determine which project to use through this email, and they will give us two parameters. The first parameter is that we only have $500,000 to spend. The second parameter is that compliance rate must be 90% or higher. Once we know that, we can move to our next file. Our next file is our project file. To download this, we are going to have to know the overall compliance rate, which is that 2-digit number, that third password, plus the number of observations. So it will be a 5-digit password. And then we can open this file. These are our different projects. Each project has different costs associated with it. You'll notice our current costs are 0 and our current compliance rate. We are going to want to find our total costs first. To find our total costs, click Auto Sum, and it will give us our total. And then I always like to do Control C, highlight all these cells, and Control V, and then I'm finished. I'm going to go back and show you how you could do that using our equals sum formula instead. We could type in equals sum, parentheses, and then highlight the cells, parentheses, enter. We can do that for all of those. What you'll notice first is we already have a project that is not going to be possible. We will not be able to do this project because it is over the $500,000. Remember, we also have a minimum compliance rate of 90%. And you'll notice these projects have expected compliance rates that are lower than 90%. So we know that we only have 2 projects that we can select from. However, we must go ahead and finish our research before we make a final choice. First, we're going to find the CEA ratio for each project. That is found by taking equals parentheses the project cost minus the current cost, which is 0, next parentheses divided by the expected compliance rate minus the current compliance rate. And it will give us a total. We can do that for each project, and I'm going to do that a couple more times. So we'll do equals parentheses project cost minus current cost. Remember, our current cost is 0, parentheses divided by expected compliance minus current compliance, which is 57. And then we'll do one more. Equals parentheses project cost minus current cost, 0, divided by, make sure you use your parentheses, because order of operations will put a division first if we don't have it in parentheses. So make sure the numerator is in parentheses and the denominator is in parentheses, or you'll get the wrong answer. Parentheses, expected compliance minus current compliance. And so we have 3 here that we've done. You'll want to go ahead and do all 7. Once you finish, you are going to rank them. So we're going to start with the lowest number and go to the highest. So 1, 2, 3. Remember, these are not the actual ranks because we have not considered all of these. Now that we have our ranks, we are going to select the lowest rank that we can do. What we note already, though, is remember, we can't do several of these projects because they're outside of our parameters. So we are going to do those first so we know we are not doing those. You're going to have a justification in each cell. If you do not have a justification in each cell, our supervisor won't know whether we should justify this or not. So for this one, I'll write no, too expensive, right? This one is low compliance. No, low compliance. And then we know we can Control C and Control V these because we know those won't work. So then we can choose between clean hands and BioClean. Remember, that we have to pick the lowest rank of the two. So depending on what that is, when you complete it, you will select your project. Once you've selected your project, you will use the project name followed by the ICER, the CEA ratio. We're going to round to the nearest dollar, and we're going to make sure we use capitals for the project where they are indicated in the spreadsheet. So if we were to choose Clean Hands, both C and H would be capitalized in the project when we do that spreadsheet. So we have finished our second file. Now we're going to go into our policy and procedure. Going to download this, and we're going to enter in that password from the previous file that we found. This is our project procedure for the one we selected. At the bottom, it's going to tell us how to open our final file. And it will give you, kind of how to enter that password. And it is also found here. So once you get there, you can then go back and enter in our final file. We're going to open this, and what is exciting about this file is if you may be feeling tired at this point, you're going to notice that this file looks exactly the same as our first file. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at our compliance rate now that we put the project into place. So what a lot of organizations will do is say, okay, did we spend our money in the best way possible? Are we getting increased hand washing compliance? So what is exciting about this is we are going to actually track that. So we're going to do it exactly like we did before. Select the data, click data, sort, hospital unit, and OK. Since we've done this before, I will just go over the first one with you. Note we still have 5 staff, and CCU is our top one. So we will have 5 staff observed. They will be observed 10 times. How many yeses upon entering? So column E, we notice we have 4. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't highlight that. Okay, we have 4 who washed when they entered. So we are going to do 4 on entering, and on exiting, we have all 5. So we have 5 yeses on exiting. And then hand wash both enter and exit. We have, it looks like 4 number ones. Hand wash at least once. We notice we have 5 number ones. And no hand wash enter or exit is 0. There's no zeros in column H. So that's promising. You're going to do this all the way down. But what you'll notice is we're only finding 1%. That is our overall compliance percentage. So we are going to count the totals here, which are the total yeses on entering and yes on exiting. Right now, we only have 9 total. So let's say our answer is 9. It's obviously not. We know we have 100 observations. So equals 9 divided by 100. We would have a total of 9%. You're going to save this overall compliance number for a future puzzle, so don't lose it. I recommend using a Post-it on your computer monitor, sending yourself an email, something like that, so you don't remember this. We have a quiz in week 5 where you will need to use that overall compliance rate again. Another thing I recommend is when you submit these files, you'll have to submit 3 files: the hand washing initial, hand washing post, and the CEA projects. So I recommend, instead of submitting 3 files, that way you don't know how to get back into them, I recommend copying and pasting each file out, copy, and then you're going to open a new Excel file and you're going to paste them all in to the new file. And so let's say this one is post. So I will call this post. And then I would click another tab and do CEA projects here. And then I would do this one, this would be the initial. And this is CEA projects. And I would just put the information all in one. That way you're only saving one file. You will do the CBA again in Capstone. So it's good to have these projects and good to have this information together, because if you ever need to do it at work, you have something to pull from. And so that this way you don't have a password you have to enter in if you copy and paste it out. Also, when you think of some of these projects in general, sometimes the files that you have a hard time kind of maneuvering them unless you save them in your own new file, especially the ones that have the passwords in them. So this will make it easier to access later. So then you can just submit one file that has all the tabs together, and then you can complete your quiz. I'm going to create another video that shows you some tips and tricks for how to complete the quiz. So please watch that video as well. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can always send your spreadsheet over to me if you feel stuck, and I can get you back on track. Or you can come to office hours. I have office hours every weekday as well as an evening during the week. I hope you have a great week.